Oh, we really appreciate you joining us on such short notice like this.
Yeah, really nice of you, Veronica.
You're still going to pay me, right? I am a bounty hunter, you know. It's all about the credits.
Of course.
Master, allow me to get that door for you.
Love that droid.
What a dump. Look at all this Republic scum.
Hey, hold on. Settle down. It's not a huttball match. You can't go around killing everybody.
Okay.
We have a hard enough time finding a bar to do the show in.
All right. There's a spot over there.
Activating holonet. Connection established. Beginning broadcast.
And welcome to another episode of the Cantina Band, number 5, technically our 6. I don't know, I really shouldn't have numbered the first episode 0.
Whatever it is, it's the first episode of the rest of our lives.
Yes, the
of
first
2012.
episode of the rest of our lives. Why? What makes you say that, Brian? Hey, everybody, I'm Adam P. Of course, joining me as always, Mr. Brian Brushwood.
Crawling
Brian,
back from the dead.
Has something happened that
Oh my
I
gosh.
wasn't aware of?
Everyone blamed me for our radio silence for the past 2 weeks. I was out of town and came back, and it's like, let's get back to, oh God, I'm dying. And so I've been laid out for the last week. Today's my first day that I'm not in a drug-induced stupor, so I'm finally starting on my alcohol-induced stupor. But we have a special guest.
Yes. Who is the mystery guest joining us today?
Well, she co-hosts a fantastic show on the Revision 3 network called Techzilla. She co-hosts a fantastic show to come on the Twit network called Game On with some other joker. And it's the lovely and talented, your friend of mine, one Veronica Belmont. Veronica,
Hello.
thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, now this is, we gotta make clear, like, you are carving out precious seconds before you head out to CES, where you've got 8 bajillion other things. So we really appreciate you taking the time to slum with us for a bit.
Totally.
Of course. It's good to kind of take my mind off CES for a little bit.
So, and speaking of which, since we just came back from the Christmas rush, and obviously some of us got early access, some of us had to wait till after retail, but by now, just about everyone who wanted to be part of the first wave playing the game has actually gotten hands-on with us. With the game, I said with us. That was a little bit awkward.
Oh,
but
hey now.
to different degrees, though, because I know, Adam, you're the psycho who plays from sunup to sundown. What is your highest level character? How far have you gotten?
I literally just hit 48 today before.
Are you about to hit the level cap? Are you really?
Yeah, 48. I think I'm on the last world, the second to last world. I'm on boss right now, so.
All right, and me, I finally, my primary finally hit level 19. But I suffer from altaphilia. Like, I get 5 levels in, I'm like, I want to make another character. Yes, I am an altaholic. And what about you, Veronica?
I'm a lowly level 13.
Is that bad?
No, it's not good either.
But that's far enough for you to have a significant taste of the game. I mean,
absolutely, you've had a chance at 13 at least, or you should, to kind of sample a little bit of everything the game's offering,
Yeah, I've done a few. What do they call them? Flashpoints?
Yeah,
the Flashpoint Black Talon.
It's going to be
on the Sith side,
it's going to be a learning experience trying to get the lingo right from WoW. But yeah, I've done a few flashpoints. I don't have any kind of vehicle yet. Obviously, I just got a helmet. I was very proud of that. And I'm very much enjoying Bounty Hunter.
I was excited because I can run now. I can sprint. I'm like,
I got sprint was the last thing I got.
Woo!
It's so fast.
So, okay, before we talk about where we've gotten and where we're headed on this, I want to know, because of all of us, I think Veronica's the most experienced when it comes to World of Warcraft, the more traditional MMO. What is it like making the transition from Warcraft over to Star Wars: The Old Republic? And is there any resentment from all your friends over on the WoW side of things? Like, you're a defector now.
Oh, no, not at all. I mean, most of my guild from Alia Yacta Est is in Star Wars right now. So we have a pretty significantly sized guild already within that space. Pretty much every MMO that comes up, we have a large presence as soon as the game goes live. So we're big in Rift, we're big in Star Wars, and of course still holding our stranglehold on World of Warcraft, as it were. And no, a lot of them are playing. We're still using the same vent and bouncing back and forth between games. So it's been a good transition, not any kind of animosity.
Well, that's good. And so what, do you find yourself like you're learning to speak Spanish, but you already know Italian, so you're just sort of like, it's almost the same language, but you just kind of adjust and learn? Because obviously, like, you spaced on the phrase flashpoints. I don't know what they're called in World of Warcraft.
Oh, instances. Or dungeons, yeah. There are a few things that I'm like, I get into the game and I miss certain features or I miss certain things that I can do in Warcraft that I can't yet do in Star Wars. So I think that's going to take a little bit of time. I'm missing a lot of the mods and the add-ons from Warcraft, especially.
Oh,
and that'll probably come in time. But I think it takes a little bit of getting used to. But it's nice because you're starting fresh. You're getting to learn from the very beginning. I came into Warcraft probably about a year after it went live, and I've been in the game ever since. But it's nice to get in on the ground floor. I wasn't in the beta. I got the game. I paid for it myself when it came out, and I've got a subscription going. So it's been fun though.
So, and I'm going to open this up to both of you guys. And I know talking to Adam earlier that you had a very specific vision for your quote unquote real character, like the experience you wanted to have. And to the tune of like you wanted to protect the last name that you had decided you were going to grab for yourself. Did you, Veronica, walk in with the same thing, or was it just sort of like, I don't know what's on the menu? I guess I feel kind of like a bounty hunter today.
Yeah, I mean, I took a small Twitter poll to see what kinds of classes and races people were really enjoying. And Bounty Hunter came back with a pretty resounding positive, so I went with that. And it's funny because my character, from the Mass Effect world looks just like Jack, the female badass from Mass Effect. And she sounds just like Femme Shepherd. So I'm getting a very BioWare experience, of course, with the game as well, which I enjoy because I'm a huge fan of BioWare games.
Oh, well, and that's something I actually wanted to comment on. But before we do, I guess, Adam, let's tell us about your vision. Can you finally release who you wanted to be?
Yes, so I did all through a beta. I never used the names I was going to use. I was always very guarded about because I just know how people are.
I just feel like you're sneaking around, making out with all the ugly chicks, saving the beautiful one for the final experience.
So all my legacy, as it is, as they call it in the game, is the Stargazers, which is the name I used for all of my characters in Star Wars Galaxies. So.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so I wanted to make sure I got that, and I did. I got to, so for those who don't know, sort of a long-term alt system they've got in place is called the Legacy system. So when you finish Act 1 on your character, whether, no matter where else you are in World Quests, if you finish your Act 1 story, and it's usually in your low 30s, when you wrap that up, they present you with hey, you've unlocked your legacy. You may now create a last name that will be shared between all of your characters on this server.
Right.
And, kind of helps identify you even when you're on alts.
Right.
If you should choose to be identified. So, yep, I got my names. I really, having been in beta, my approach was I tried originally to stay away from classes I thought I wanted to play in live to preserve my gameplay experience. And I really was gravitating towards consular. That's what I thought I wanted to play in live. And I couldn't wait anymore, and I dabbled a little bit, and I really liked it, and I went, heck with that, I'm going to play. So when the game launched live, I had already been through Act 1 and 2 in beta.
Right.
So even though I wasn't rushing, I wasn't like spacebarring through conversation, I wasn't skipping content. As a matter of fact, I've done more content in live than I did in beta.
Right.
Getting to that point.
But just knowing where everything is and knowing like, there's that
really
one tricky guy off to the side that I always forget. Yeah.
Yeah, like for Jedi, in the Jedi area, people always get hung up on where's the lost Padawans.
So
and once you know what I mean, you could spend an hour and a half looking for them.
Right.
It took me 5 minutes to get there. So
did you? You mentioned.
So yeah, it really played out the way I had hoped, and I was very happy when I hit those landmarks that I wanted to. And then once I unlocked my legacy, I really slowed down. I know it doesn't sound at 48, but I slowed down and started playing more on alts and stuff too. So
right now, did you mentioned Star Wars Galaxy? Last time we talked about Galaxies was that they were getting ready to wind it down. But did you actually hang out on the last night on the worlds?
I ended up watching because they had set it up where if you wanted to participate in their end of the world thing. You had to have been subscribed a few months earlier.
Oh, what a bummer. You were outside the velvet rope.
Yeah, so I ended up watching a live stream, and sadly, everybody who was doing the live streams, like you could tell, didn't play the game, hadn't played the game in years, had no idea what they were doing.
Right. And, so there wasn't any of that nostalgia.
Seeing, like, these end of the world parties, things were really weird. Like, It's been a little under a year since I last played the game, and I didn't even recognize what I was looking at. So
it was like, not the.
Yeah, it's time for the old. Let's bring in the new. You know?
Yeah, wow, I never thought I'd hear you say that. All right, so real quick, I've got obviously we've got the not safe for Wookiees on the Sith side,
Yep.
and when I first started playing, I made a couple of different characters. I made like a dark side Sith and a Sith warrior, and I was really bummed by all the evil in it, and so I decided. I was like, I need to figure out who I'm about in order to enjoy this game. So I rolled an Imperial agent named Flatus. She's silent but deadly. I love the opportunity for weird contradictions, like the fact that you could play as a Sith Imperial agent but play entirely light side. And like, well, what kind of person would this be? This is somebody who, works for the bureaucratic nightmare of the Sith Empire, who believes that there needs to be order in the galaxy, that there needs to be somebody to rule, but she also believes in doing the right thing. And so I think that's an interesting way to have a light side story within the Sith Empire, and I've really enjoyed it so far for the most part, at least on the character development side of things.
I went through that. I have a bounty hunter, ironically, in AIE, because I'm friendly with some of the officers, so they're like, yeah, slip an alt in our clubhouse. So I have a bounty hunter that I'm up to 19 with, that really enjoyed playing a quote unquote light side bounty hunter. It offered interesting opportunities that I wasn't expecting. Whereas when I did the same thing, Brian, tried a Sith warrior or a Sith Inquisitor, and you're dealing with a lot of, scummy people doing really mean, sadistic things. And it really wore on me very quickly. But yeah, I get what you mean. And I'm playing an agent too. I haven't gotten my agent as far as Brian has, but same thing. He's kind of a neutral, detached character that it does seem fairly rewarding to play that way. But boy, has it been challenging. I've gone through flashpoints a couple times, and I'm running into a lot of people don't like it when you run light side on the Sith, it seems.
No, I've run into the opposite. Maybe it's because of the kind of people that I'm rolling with, but it's kind of like whenever there'll be three of us and then make a decision, and then the person who'll get the roll will make the dark side decision, and everyone else kind of gives these judgmental, like, really? Kill him? Wow. Wow. All right. Whatevs. So, and that brings me to the next thing that I really wanted to talk about is, and this is less about our personal characters, but more about the overall experience. I, for one, out of everything that I did not expect, I guess I expected it. I've been proclaiming it for the longest time, but it actually, to me, has completely fulfilled my hopes and expectations for it being a story-driven experience. I am shocked at, number one, how satisfying it is to play, even as a completely single-player experience, and number two, how excited I get for all of the story elements for it. Yeah. Every time there's a dialogue option, I perk up and pay attention, and that was the biggest thing I was afraid of, is that they would look like just chore quests for me.
Well, my problem is that I'm getting kind of annoyed by the amount of talking in the game.
Oh, really?
I'm like space barring through conversations.
You're killing me. Really?
I know. I shouldn't be that guy, but I really need to be more immersed in the storyline. I understand that. They just talk too slow.
But you see,
I feel like I'm watching a movie.
Well,
hang on, Brian. If I could throw in, because you mentioned BioWare, and I get the impression you probably played Mass Effect, right?
Of course.
So I'm getting, for me, like, Mass Effect really pulled me in, got me really, really engaged in the story, like in a big way. And I'm finding this game has done the same thing for me. And I'm surprised that
keep
someone
in mind,
that's a
though,
BioWare fan saying, no, is it the story isn't
there's too many different
you,
stories. I think that's what it is.
Used to it in an MMO.
Yeah,
maybe I'm paying more attention to the main storyline quest and the conversations that are happening there. But when I'm just doing like a daily or something like, run and get this thing or go kill this guy in this house, I don't really care. Like, I'm never going to meet this character again. I'm never going to have to interface with them again. It's not contributing to my main storyline or my character growth. So
Although
I don't
actually
really care that much.
Well, but there's an interesting twist to that, and I haven't really figured out what the end game for this is. Although I'm starting to bother to play it. You've got that for the most part, when you're getting a quest, a lot of your decisions won't make a difference. You're still going to get the quest. But you perk up when you see a dark side option or a light side option. But the rest of them I was sort of just regarding as whatever I felt like saying. And then finally I realized that I was winning or losing affinity points with my companion. Do you have a companion yet, by the way?
Yes, I do.
Okay. So like obviously sometimes you say certain things and you know they like that or they dislike that. And I don't know what the benefits down the road are because I'm not far enough into the game, but obviously it makes me want to kind of win over like I want to say ColecoVision. ColecoVision is her name.
ColecoVision before
Yeah.
ColecoVision?
ColecoVision is her name. But ColecoVision, I figured out, likes one thing, and that's punk rock answers. No matter who I'm talking to, she wants me to be sassy. So it's like sometimes I'll be sassy just to amuse her, but other times I'm like, no, I want to do the right thing, and she won't like that. So it makes the dialogue into a bit of a mini game for me. So it adds a little bit of stakes to it, but I don't know what I'm going to do with this affinity. What do I get out of that, Adam?
Well, down the road, see, it's funny. My main companion, on my Jedi Sage, is a Trandoshan hunter. That's all about the hunt and being a noble warrior, that kind of a thing. So when my Jedi shows compassion, and when I'm playing a light side Jedi, it happens a lot. He doesn't like that, but it's usually like 1 point. Other times he's 15 points. What happens eventually is they'll start giving you missions, and then you'll. It's like Mass Effect; they all have like a backstory,
right?
And once their affection hits certain points, they'll give you those missions so you can learn more about them. In true BioWare Mass Effect-y fashion, you can romance certain characters in the game. Mm-hmm. So when your affection is really high, so you can get involved emotionally and romantically with those characters.
Yeah, and I'm not going to lie, I sort of peeked ahead and saw that I was like, well, am I even playing the right kind of class? And so I looked at what kind of companions I would get down the road with the Imperial Agent, and I found that there was a romance possible with a dude, but only if you were light side. And it was like, well, that's convenient. I'm a light side chick playing on the Sith, so I find myself in the awkward position of being a 30-something-year-old man trying to romance another dude.
Yeah, the Sage didn't get his romanceable companion, and I literally just got her last night, and she's my Padawan, and she's young, so it's creepy, so we won't be pursuing that.
I thought, well, the thing that kind of bums me out, though, is that you can't have same-sex relationships in that game. Isn't that true?
For now, yes. They say that with the outpouring of feedback on that they will be adding it post-launch. But for now, there is no same gender romancing.
Keep in mind that there never was technically same-sex romances available in Mass Effect either. They worked around it with there was that sexy race. Yeah, they were alien. They weren't male or female, but they certainly looked very female.
Yeah, so I guess I won't be. I'm a lady bounty hunter, so I probably will not be romancing Mako.
Yeah, like everybody,
soon.
like every other fanboy on the planet. Scott's funny. I listen to Scott. We've had Scott on the show, and we're friendly with him. And he's like, "I'm gonna get Mako's pants any day now." Like he's counting down the days. It's so funny, And
that's
awesome.
Gross,
Scott. Gross. Gross.
Okay.
Dirty old man.
So let's talk about the actual play mechanic. And I would imagine that coming from World of Warcraft, there's a bit of a adjustment phase where it's like you sort of rebind certain moves and recategorize. You translate the word force into magic or whatever. What's it like going from the one to the other?
Well, I'm playing a different kind of class this time around. I'm doing power mech, so I'm a little more of a tanky class than I am in WoW, where I'm an elemental shaman, so I'm more like ranged DPS. So that's but I've still got some ranged activity going on with my various missiles and darts and things like that. But I wanted to be a little more powerful, so I went with power mech. It's fun, but I am having trouble with some of the hotkey buttons a little bit. And some of my key bindings, I haven't quite gotten it down yet the way I did in WoW.
See, and I've never, even when I was playing City of Heroes, I never got into all the crazy. Well, actually, I take that back. There was in City of Villains, I got into crazy binding, but it's all I find myself still being the idiot who's mouse clicking on everything.
No, I do a lot of mouse clicking. I'm not gonna lie. I'm kind of one of those players, but I do have some key bindings, and I have a mouse that has buttons on it too. So I'm working on those, but it is a bit of a learning curve.
Is there a reason that they can't have, and maybe this is something that becomes possible later, but as far as I know, in all of World of Warcraft and in all of Star Wars The Old Republic, you can't just set a waypoint and just be like, go there and just watch your guy sort of walk with a very simple pathfinding?
No, yeah, unfortunately not at all in this game.
Well, especially for such opportunities to chat with the other members of the guild or with people that that you know online. And I understand if you get attacked, then you should take control and you should fight the battle or whatever. But it's like, I don't know, what's really gained by requiring me to keep my fingers on the keys for the 30 seconds it takes to walk from point A to point B.
Well, I've gotten really good at hitting numlock and then hitting enter and typing. Like, okay, I can get half a sentence before I have to turn here. Hang on, Like,
yes, exactly, right?
But that's MMO type. That's MMO communicating in general. Like you just that's kind of a general skill, not just specific to Star Wars.
And I would even take a hit like, because you get vehicles early on, I'd even take a hit of a special mode of transportation where you went maybe 50% slower, but your droid drove instead of you or something. But in the meanwhile, you were able to get more done with chatting and whatever.
That would be cool.
That would be an idea. Hey, the game's just launched. Like, the features we have now, where the game will be in 2 years, can only imagine. I'm sure things like that will come down the road. So, a waypointing system is definitely something I'm missing. They had it in Galaxies. It worked really well. You could type in the coordinates if a friend said, oh, I'm here at X blah, blah, and Y blah, blah. You could type those in, and the system would generate a big light column that you could see for a mile away, so you knew which direction to head.
Oh, that's clever.
Neat. Yeah, that is
cool.
But
the thing you'll find, especially like when you start hitting worlds like Terrace, Balmora. Balmora is probably my least favorite planet for this, where the worlds become very sort of dead-end maze-like, and that you really have to be paying attention to where you're navigating, or you're going to end up going off a cliff, or you're going to end up going down the wrong way into a heroic zone, or you know what I mean? So it's one of those things of, even if you could say, hey, go that way, you'd be running through areas. Like, I'm not sure they'd be able to pull it off on a more advanced world like Balmora, where it's just pathing is a nightmare. Getting around, looking at the map, going, well, yeah, I can go from there to there, and then you get there and realize, no, that's top of a mountain, and you actually had to go the long way around.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Right. Or even when you just want to get from one side of this tomb to the other, and you find yourself doing these bizarre zigzag patterns because you don't feel like engaging all these bad guys, and you're sort of on the periphery, or like, I hope they don't notice me.
Don't see me.
Yeah. And then the
Can
companion.
I fit through these 2 packs? No, I couldn't. Throw rocks, start throwing stuff.
Yeah, exactly. And then a companion just randomly starts pulling the trigger on everyone walking by.
Yeah, I've noticed the aggro range gets really long very quickly. If you're above level from the mobs, 1 or 2 levels, you can get pretty close to a lot of them without them
I noticed that
aggroing.
too.
But if you're a level or 2 below them, they'll come from a mile away and chase you. It seems.
They got your number.
Yeah.
I like the instance areas, though. I like being able to just kind of walk into an area and getting a quest like right off the bat, and then just kind of being able to jump into it. It's fun.
But that was the thing that really impressed me, was whenever I've dealt with sort of like a phasing or an instanced type of area, like you'll be like, for example, on Tatooine, everything's wide open, and then, your mission's in that cave, and the cave's got the energy shield on it, and you go in. There's no load time.
Well, and that blew me away. I mean, you obviously
instant.
have big load times, as you go from one planet to another, when you get on your starship, which, by the way, we still need to talk about the starship battles, which I'm strongly in favor of. I heard some grumbling about it, but I don't know who those people are.
Yeah,
it's like an awesome arcade game where your points are XP, and it's Rebel Assault, basically.
Yeah.
Which, take that, some people means is a good thing or a bad thing. But yes, I totally noticed. I was like, I don't think I've ever seen load time walking around on a planet, and it's amazing to me.
Yeah, I'm definitely impressed by it. I wanted to, Veronica, at the top of the show, you were like, oh, I'm only 13. And I know that, like a game like World of Warcraft, which I played for a little while, I didn't really take to it. I'm not as big a fantasy guy as some of my other friends. They were playing, I tried with them. And they were on a PvP server, and that got kind of old for me pretty quickly. Oh, shoot, I just lost my train of thought here. But what I found was early on was I
love the idea that all of a sudden you're just lost in some past long forgotten world of World of Warcraft.
I know, where am I?
And then I was left alone, and then I got beat up by the whole
in the game to try it. All of my friends, a lot of my friends already had 50s or whatever the cap was at the time. I don't remember. But I felt like there was like this huge, okay, go level for the next month and a half, and then maybe you'll catch up to us. and then you can kind of do some of the fun stuff. Like you always felt like you had to get there. What I'm finding with this game is that by level 13, you like that Black Talon, the first flashpoint you do that you have access to at level 10. That is like end game content while you're leveling. Would you agree, Veronica, or is it still not on par?
And first of all,
I wouldn't say it's on par with end game content in WoW.
Okay,
it feels instance light to me. Almost. Okay. Maybe just because I'm jumping from one game to another, and I haven't done any of the higher level flashpoints in Star Wars yet. But it seems maybe just, I don't know, it seems a little bit easier to me. Actually, I would say significantly easier to me than most of the dungeons in WoW so far.
Fair enough. Absolutely. No, you're right. You're absolutely right that the bosses that you face off in that, are all very straightforward, tank and spank. But you got to remember the flashpoint is presented when everyone's supposed to be level 10. They've just picked up their advanced class. And even though you may say, I'm going to specialize as tanking, you don't really start getting those class-specific skills until you're like 15 to 20.
Yeah, no, I'm excited to see what some of the harder instances feel
like. And there
are,
believe me.
But what I have enjoyed are some of the...
I've hit everyone so far that's come up. And this one, the first one on both sides, is very story-driven, with a lot of dialogue and a lot of obviously moral choices. Further down the line, they mix it up a little bit. Some are very puzzle-oriented. Some are very much like there's a War Games one that has a couple of really cool mini games in it that you got to work with your team to kind of solve and win. But no, you're right. I don't mean to say that, because I know that endgame in this, operations, raids, and World of Warcraft is going to be one of those things of, you need 8 people, 16 people. The bosses have far more complex mechanics. That's something I've seen during the game is it starts very simple. And then by level 30, 40, you better be really good at understanding what the subtlety of some of your skills do. I've never played a game where I've had to know how to use my interrupt.
Yeah, I'm obviously not qualified to make that kind of judgment yet because I am only 13. I'm just a wee baby. But I will... I'm looking forward to trying some of that harder stuff. I think the hardest stuff I've come across so far have been some of the bosses in the world. Like there's this one boss when you have to get the explosives and put them on the drills. And the boss that comes out there is really tough. And it took us a couple of tries to get him. And maybe it was because he was a level above us at that time. But it was pretty challenging, and I was surprised.
I am. Are you spending most of your time teaming up with random people from the guild, or just random people you run into, or playing solo?
I would say a mix of all three. I definitely have a lot of guild members in game that I've been running with, so that's been helpful for sure. But I have had a lot of really positive experiences with just random players in the world who happen to be in the same area and are totally willing to team up for something.
Yeah, I definitely noticed there's a quality of the community, knock on wood, at least with the server we've been on. The quality of the people in general has certainly outweighed, jerks or trolls so far. That's for sure.
Maybe it's because, and I understand that this is an inherent limitation. Maybe this is something I really dig about this particular MMO, is that it's so friendly to solo play, at least in the early levels. Because when I was playing City of Heroes, it was just after our first daughter was born. So I'd find myself, unlike real games or normal games, when something comes up, you could just press pause and you could come back and resume. There are real people on the other side who are inconvenienced if you suddenly drop off and go do some other thing. So I find myself, I kept slipping farther and farther behind all my friends, and that was really frustrating. But I haven't run into that at all. At least not here, because I log on, I could play for 15 minutes on my solo character and then just be like, I'm gonna go, and then run on out. So I don't know if down the road it's gonna behoove me to start making friends and teaming up with random strangers a little bit more. But I'll tell you this much, it's been very, very rare that I ever have happened to be able to quite coordinate with somebody who I wanted to team up with at this time on this mission, and have it not be a case where, like, I like you, random person, but you've already done this mission, or you're 2 levels ahead of me, and that won't, it's going to screw up XP for X, Y, and Z. Like, I really, really long for the days of sidekicking on City of Heroes, to where all of a sudden you could just be appropriate for any quest just like that.
Yeah, I've had that problem. I was in sync with a couple of friends within a level or two, so we would always be on the same world. So it'd be like, hey, what are you doing? I'm going to catch up with you, and you'd group up and you'd share, adventuring. So you'd share the world quest, and then my smuggler friend would be like, oh, I got to go in there and do a smuggler thing. I'll come along and watch. And then you get to sit back for 5 minutes while he does a smuggler thing, and vice versa, you know. But I've only been able to sync up twice like that so far with people. And usually what people seem to be falling into is and I know the way I do it is, I didn't do all my single player stuff, you know, my class story, the world arc, you know, the main quest lines there, you should be able to do solo for the most part. It's the heroic group quests that you pick up on the worlds that can be time intensive, be very difficult. You know, the mechanics on the bosses tend to get a little more complicated. So that can be some time, and usually some worlds have as many as 7 or 8 of those. That's 2 days worth of playing right there. It seems like for me, you know, when you bring other people into the mix, you know, it's not as efficient time wise. Obviously, you're waiting. Oh, wait, I gotta go repair my stuff. I'll be there in a minute, and you know all of that. So I have fallen out of sync. But what we've been doing is I save those heroics till I'm done with the planet. And then I'll make it known, hey, by the way, I have heroics for Hoth. Did anybody want to do the heroics for Hoth?
I still have almost all my heroics still saved. I think I've only done 1 or 2 heroics so far.
I'll tell you, there's really good money in there, and there's really good gear in there, moddable gear. Normally, you don't really start seeing moddable gear, you know, stuff you can put attachments into, until you're into your 30s and 40s. And really at the higher end is when it starts dropping all the time.
I've been getting some moddable weapons by doing that. I haven't gotten any gear yet.
You will. As you go on, you'll start to see it. They kind of mix it up. It goes through cycles, it seems. Like, here's a new weapon. Oh, here's a belt. You get a lot of belts and gloves. It's kind of annoying. You're like, no, really, I want a new chest piece. I need a new robe. I'm tired of wearing the same one for 10 levels.
So we had a couple of stories that we wanted to get to, but before we just wrap up on early impressions, let's start off. I got 2 questions. The first one is kind of a 2-parter. Let's go around and say what do you love about the game so far? What do you hate about the game so far? And I'll jump in first since I'm hitting you guys with that. I definitely love the storytelling. I believe the voice acting. I believe the nuance of the characters, and I'm really sucked into the actual storytelling. And also loving the space battles. And I don't care if it is just Rebel Assault. Hating is, and this is a minor quirk, and it's just my experience, and I understand that everyone, you know, I like to think I'm a reasonably intelligent being, but when I finished the First Empire world, what is it? I forget
Droman Kos.
Droman Kos, right? Droman Kos.
That's where I'm at now.
Okay, well, after Droman Kos, don't go to Nar Shaddaa. Because I got a mission that says, go to Nar Shaddaa. And I guess somewhere they said I could go to another planet, but I went to Nar Shaddaa. And the last 2 weeks, everything has ground to a freaking halt because I'm outclassed. And I'm so far into Nar Shaddaa now, getting my ass handed to me all over this place that I don't even know where to go to anything. And so now my one goal is to get off Nar Shaddaa. But meanwhile, there's a couple of quests that I almost have finished that it's been a week where I've only gone up 1 level, and it's terrible experience for me.
I'll coach you on that after the show. For those who haven't gotten that far yet, I think the same thing happens on the Jedi side. Your story wraps up from the origin world, you know, like your prelude, and they start Act 1, and in that exposition of you're going to go here and here's your mission, they end up mentioning the 2 locations. And they give you quests for both at the same time, but they have levels attached to them.
And I guess I missed the.
You ignored that level part.
I don't know if I didn't see it or if I just wasn't paying attention, or maybe they were speaking in some kind, because a lot of times they'll dress it up as code where they won't flat out say this is the way to the flashpoint, this is the way to go straight to the planet. But then instead they're like, well, you could go this way and it'll get you there, but the other way is a little bit rockier. You may have some adventures. Wink, wink.
Yeah. So I can totally understand that, but tell you what, can I jump in? What am I loving?
Yeah, go.
Obviously, the storytelling. It feels so damn Star Wars. I feel like it was so funny. I said last night as I was getting entrenched in the last in this Voss and the story going on there. I want to bring this back. You know, Veronica was like, I'm skipping some of the side quests and stuff. I got to tell you,
I'm not skipping the side quests. I'm just not listening to them talk.
They were world arcs. They were world stories, or what I would have seemed like small side stories. That when I got to the end of them, they made me get teary-eyed.
Really?
Yeah.
What'd you get teary-eyed about?
There's one on Terrace. If anyone, I'm not going to give it away. I will say, if you played Knights of the Old Republic and you're looking for nods to Knights of the Old Republic,
oh my God,
you gotta go to Terrace. you got to go to Terrace. There's lots of little stories there that you will appreciate from Knights of the Old Republic. But there's one in particular that you do that when you get to the end of it, it really leaves you feeling very sad. And you knew that the story could end no other way. But by going through it and experiencing the performance that you witness, it moves you in a way. Same thing. I had something happen with one of my companion characters and someone involved with them. And when I got to the end of it, I was like, no, I didn't want that to happen. Like, it really affects me. Like, it's really...
You bring up an interesting point here, which is, right now we're all being courteous about doing the spoiler dance, about not really saying stuff. But obviously, at some point, you can expect most of the people listening to the show have already experienced the majority of X, Y, or Z, or they've heard, the different development points that can happen. Or maybe if they haven't even played the bounty hunter class, they've heard from other classes about the type of things that happen about bounty hunters from a different perspective. So I guess we should at some point come up with kind of a spoilery ruling where obviously right now we want to be very delicate, but down the road, I think once we start hitting 50, maybe we should have a spoiler zone near the end of the show.
Yeah,
to talk
maybe.
about the content.
No, I agree. It's definitely, I'm starting to see it more and more. Like, I find the story in the third act, you can't really, and everybody sees what's a spoiler differently, but, if you've been paying attention to the worlds and stuff, there is a bigger story that's being told through the details. And by the time...
Well, there's little hints, like, for example, there's things that I didn't even bother to think about until, I think it was, level 16 was the first time I heard the Emperor mentioned. And then it occurred to me, I'm like, oh, yeah, if we're the Sith Empire, I bet we have an Emperor. And I'm like, I wonder who he is, because nobody seems to mention him or show his face so far. So,
exactly,
to me, it's all a mystery, but it's interesting to suddenly realize these mysteries down the road.
So obviously, BioWare they've either perfected the formula that they're saying these words and doing these things will get somebody emotionally invested as quickly. They've got the formula locked down somehow. They really do. So I'm loving that. Clearly, end of discussion.
All right, what about you? What do you hate?
I'm really hating
the Sith Empire.
Non-customizable interface. I'm running out of buttons.
That was mine.
You have no idea. I'm running out of buttons.
So you can't. There's no assign everything. Assign macros to Control Alt Q or anything.
What you got for key slots is, the game starts you with the one row on the bottom. You can expand that to 2, and then as you run out of room there, you can add a toolbar to the right of your screen and the left of your screen. And they're almost all fold up between. You see, I'm one of those social people. I've got my little holographic dancer. I've got my sparkle powder. I've got whatever the silly little trinkets are, and they unfortunately take up toolbars too. So this interface is I like the look of it. It's just too big, and it's not, I need to be able to move my toolbars around.
I was really surprised that I couldn't resize so many of the windows.
Yeah, like Veronica was saying, I know World of Warcraft does a lot of this, through their API and letting people do the third-party mods, like we talked about with Tom last episode and all of that. Now, BioWare, to their credit, has said we have a whole team working right now on a much more customizable interface with giving you features that you're asking for, X, Y, and Z. So I'm sure, I'm annoyed by it now, but I've learned to work with it. It's not that bad.
I guess that's the problem too, is so much of what people have come to expect from a high level MMO like World of Warcraft. Very few of those things were there at launch. Most of them came organically over time through the.
But so does it seem that they should at least add those things that people have become extremely used to in MMOs right off the bat?
I mean, if we're to believe the rumors, I think they're just really happy that everything works and they launched on time.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
But
that's fair enough.
Yeah. So those, there's a million and one things I could gush about that I love, right? Like Brian said, I really love space missions. I mean, I love logging out every night, feeling like I saved the galaxy.
Yeah, absolutely.
It does that really well. What about you, Veronica? I keep blathering here. What about you? What are you loving? What are you hating the most?
Well, on top of the things you've already said, both of you, I really enjoy the companions. I just like having someone to run around with and to help me out on quests and to run and do crafting stuff. I think that's a really nice feature.
I think that's part of the reason that I've played so solo, is because I forget that it's maybe we've been partially trained by the Mass Effect experience, but it's whatever it is having a companion has tapping into that for me. And I love, and you nailed it, I love having them, go do secretary work. Please, could you go just sell all these grays? I don't need them.
I can't get that feature to work. Like, I think I've hit upon some kind of bug where she will not run and sell my grays. And it happened with someone else in my party, too, the other day.
Yeah, I've had it happen once or twice, it seems. Well, sometimes when I'm in an instanced area, I've had that happen where I go to send them and nothing happens. Like, they go through you get the bar, you get the indicators that they're going to go disappear, and then nothing happens. So
Yeah.
I think it's just a bug. Normally, it works okay for me, but I have had that happen a few times.
I haven't had it work yet for me once, so I'm keeping my fingers crossed. And the thing I probably don't like, I don't love the interface, as you mentioned. That's probably my biggest thing right now, and missing a few features here and there that I've become very accustomed to, which I can't even think of what those features are right now. It's happened a few times in game where I'm like, oh, I can't do that? Oh, okay. Well, I guess I'll
That's
get used to
dumb.
that eventually.
Yeah. Do you miss an auto attack? I know that was something that a lot of folks, when I was in beta testing, were like, where's the auto attack?
Wait, there was an auto attack?
There's no auto attack.
No.
You can't
I mean,
like just
but there was
click on or right click on someone. You can't just keep shooting.
that's something that
exactly.
you could do in World of Warcraft.
Yes.
Well, that
Yeah,
seems.
well, most MMOs have that. You know, once you engage in combat, you have some sort of default attack they'll hit with if you don't hit any of your specials.
It's usually like melee kind of stuff. It's not, or for me at least it was.
Huh.
So I miss that a little bit just because you don't have to continuously, button mash to get things done. You can kind of plan out an attack a little bit, but this gives it more skill. So I like that. It makes you have
and it
to think a little
definitely,
quicker
what
on
I
your toes.
found an upside to it too is in groups is you can tell real quick when someone has walked away. It makes people have to pay attention.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, they can't just be like, all right, auto attack, I'm going to go bathroom and I'll be right back. And, like, you'll notice if someone's not, doing their part in the group. So,
What was there
right.
in World of Warcraft? And I'm trying to think about. I guess I can think of it in City of Heroes. But in World of Warcraft, was there ever a way once you got aggroed for you to be like, I don't have time for this battle right now, and do some kind of like sneak away thing?
You can run,
Well,
but
I guess because like right now my experience, and in City of Heroes, you could turn invisible if you were stealthed, or you could run and get away. But maybe I don't have the right vehicle yet in Star Wars: The Old Republic. But there's never been a battle that got started that did not end with either us killing them or them killing us. Like I've tried to run several times. I'm like, I do not have time to be doing this fight, and it just hasn't worked.
I've done that. The trick, again, my main's a healer. So I have like 7 heals on my toolbar, only one of which works while I'm running back.
You heal your enemy. You're like, please be peaceful, my friend.
I've got a energy shield I can put up that reduces damage by like 60% or something like that. I don't even know the specifics, but a lot. It helps. So it's like really great for spike damage. So I've had that happen where you're like, oh, I hit the objective. Oh my God, there's like 6 things running at me. I'm done. And like you'll go run through the back, try and just run out of the cave,
Yeah.
And it'll be the same thing. I'll have to hit like my force run. I'll hit the energy shield, and then I'll hit me with my heal over time that I can do while I'm running. And eventually they will stop chasing you, but it does seem like they chase you for a long time.
Yeah.
And again, if someone doesn't have a speed or a heal on them, I don't know how they're getting away from that stuff. So no, there is no like magic, press this button, get out of combat and hide.
Well, and not
skill
that it was
available
ever that easy, but just some kind of tactic that didn't mean like, aggro meant instantly you're embroiled in this 3-minute click fest or
No,
whatever.
yeah, pretty much. Aggro means you're instantly embroiled in a 3-minute epic battle.
Okay,
Want to
so
be or not.
last question before we start talking about our main stories, and then we'll wrap things up here, because obviously the bulk of this episode we wanted to talk about our impressions. But what are your plans for where you are in the game? And what I mean by that is, for me, I'm not very far in my primary. I think I'm committed to getting to at least level 30 with Agent Flatus, and then I'm going to really focus on Shwood, who I decided would be in every way the opposite of Agent Flatus. Agent Flatus is a Sith, non-Force user, light side person. So Shwood, of course, has to be Republic, Force using, dark side. And I went as far as to actually make the character, but I'm tempted to keep wanting to flip back and forth, because you'll get annoyed with one bureaucracy and then want to flip to another. Then you'll get annoyed of having to be evil all the time. You want to flip back. But I think I'm going to commit to getting this one character up to her, because I'm pretty embarrassed that it's been out this long and I'm still only
Yeah,
level
well,
19.
you know, I mean, think of it this way: it's a long learning curve for you. I wouldn't feel too bad about that. But my advice to you on that is, get at least one character through Act 1 so you can unlock your legacy. Even
Yes.
if you're not interested in a legacy name per se, it unlocks an XP pool for all of your other alts.
Oh,
so no matter what
wow.
alt you're on, they're contributing to this legacy XP thing that's going to have benefits down the road. So
I didn't know that.
once you've unlocked it, it doesn't matter who you're playing on; they're all contributing to that. So,
All right. Well, what about you, Veronica? How do you plan to play?
I typically have one main that I run through for most of my gameplay time. So that's kind of how I'm planning on doing things here. So I've got my bounty hunter that I'm kind of neutralish right now, but I know that's not going to really help me in the end. So I'm going towards light side. But once in a while, she's very money oriented. So she kind of goes where the money goes. But yeah, I'm thinking of maybe doing a couple alts just to see the starting area, as it were. But usually I just run with one main.
be warned, you may find that you suddenly enjoy either A, the story, or B, the gameplay, because it's all so radically different from class to class, like how they feel, how they play. You may find you like suddenly, wow, I did not know I was going to like Smuggler this much.
Yeah.
Or, wow, Trooper's really fun.
I'll tell you, I am in love with the gameplay with the Imperial agents so far, mainly because it's all about you hide behind something, you set up your trap, and you sort of pull your magic trick all at once and try to rain a disgusting amount of death, and then you're spent, you got nothing, and then you either finish them off or they finish you off.
Now, Veronica, you raid in World of Warcraft, obviously, right?
Not as much as I would like to, but yeah,
Okay.
sometimes.
Yep. Obviously, you're like Brian, busy. Are you going to be? Do you have an eye on operations and seeing what endgame is here, or is it just one of those? I'm going to enjoy the ride, and when eventually I get there, I get there.
Yeah, I'm kind of get there when I get there. I leave the officers to do that. To do the
Let
heavy
them
lifting.
figure it out, so then they can tell me how to do it when I do get there. Believe me, I've got people in my guild I actually do that with. Like, okay, what are we doing on this one?
Exactly.
Yeah. No. I hear you.
All right, well, hey man, let's talk about the big stories.
Yes. So let's see here. So real quick, we're not gonna, this is old news at this point, but how did the game do? Obviously we've been doing the podcast for about half a year now, and we've been looking forward to it, and everyone's been talking about it. Did it come out and crash and burn, or did it come out and do really well? Well, according to BioWare, they released on December 23rd press release saying they have 1 million registered subscribers, making it the fastest subscribed MMO ever.
And again, that's a little bit like, I'll be first to admit, this is a little bit like Google Plus announcing that it was the fastest adopted social platform ever. It's had the way paved by people who came before it. Still remains to be seen what level of involvement and enjoyment and what kind of growth there is as far as the story that moves from here.
And then a couple days later, they came out with, they wanted to show off like the volume of people and the things that were done. They released some stats that I thought were really interesting. Over 60 million in-game hours spent that first week, roughly equivalent to watching all 6 Star Wars movies 4 million times.
Some intern had a blast trying to figure out the way to couch this the most impressively.
Oh, yeah. Over 850,000 Sith warriors and over 810,000 Jedi Knights created. Over 260 million quests completed, 44 million PvP battles, 9 million space combat missions completed, over 3 billion NPCs killed. It sounds like a lot of people playing the game and enjoying it.
That's amazing to me. It's those numbers are too big for me to comfortably wrap my mind around. And instead I'm just like, a lot of people be shooting.
A lot of people with lightsabers.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, what are what's the ratio of Jedis to Sith people? Have they
it sounded like almost I think we've been hearing for a while that the story is that Sith seems slightly more popular, which I'm so curious why that is.
I know. I think we've talked about that a couple times. Yeah, we think it's everything from everyone has Darth Maul fantasies to they want to be, the anti-hero. I don't know, but easily on our server, I warned folks about this before the game launched about it. Everyone was talking Sith, let's go Sith. And I was like, watch, what will happen is everyone will go Sith. and then they'll get really annoyed very quickly that in PvP, the only war zone they ever end up in is Huttball, fighting against themselves. And that's exactly what's been going on our servers.
Oh, wow. Now, I'm not even far enough to have played Huttball yet. What's the story with that?
Huttball is the one war zone that can be done same faction versus same faction, whereas the other two war zones can be are only Republic versus Sith, whereas Huttball, it can be Sith versus Sith. And so what's happening is all these Sith players, because they're so overdominant on most of the servers, find themselves being queued into Huttball repeatedly over and over and over again. But so, you know, I don't know, but it definitely does seem like Sith is the more popular choice. And, you know, that rivalry is already, I see it in the forums, I'm seeing it on Twitter, you know, everyone, you know, people taking their sides very seriously. And I don't know, but yeah, definitely seems like the Sith faction is definitely more popular than the Republic faction. So, you know, extra points for me for choosing.
I already told you my theory. I think I mentioned it on the podcast before. I think the Sith fetish is a implicit rejection of the prequels, because used to be that you know, it was Empire versus the rebels, right? And so the rebels were awesome because they were sticking it to the man, but then the prequels came out and the Republic was represented only by stodgy old codgers who refused to acknowledge a threat. Yeah. So it's like, well, screw it, man. I want to be the Sith.
What do you think, Veronica? Why did AIE go Sith? Why were you happy with or comfortable with going Sith? Why not Republic?
Going Imperial.
Although you guys did end up doing a Republic guild too later on, but
yes, we did go that way as well. I don't know. I think because maybe it's something having to do with AIE being a horde guild in WoW. Maybe it's just kind of the way we roll. Like, we'd like to be the anti-heroes, though some may argue that the horde are not in fact the anti-heroes. So I'm not sure. I had no part in that decision, but I'm happy with the way it went.
Have you run into that at all in the story yet? Like, you hit a moment or gotten a bounty in the story that you're like, you want me to what?
Yeah, doing the flashpoint of Black Talon, I think, is probably the first point where you're like, really, I have to kill this nice little Jedi lady? Like, she's so sweet.
I feel bad every time. I've done it more than a number of times now, but yeah, I always feel bad having to kill that Padawan.
That is the one moment where I'm like, wait, where's the light side option? Where's the talk it out?
Yeah. Can we just let her go? She's so cute.
Just lock her in the closet. She can't get out. Look at her. She's just a tiny little thing.
She's just bouncing around.
Plucky, optimistic thing, and it's like, dead. I feel bad for her,
All right, so hey, man, what's next for the Star Wars universe?
All right, so obviously we're all kind of enjoying this, but I think, with an MMO, the game's got more content than I know what to do with myself, which is unusual for an MMO to begin with.
Yeah, keep in mind, like, you're somebody who's already pre-played most of the classes. We are coming up, 3 weeks since early access started?
We're looking about 3 weeks.
So that means if you were going to go through each of the classes, let's call it a month to get through, you're looking at 4 months of nonstop playing before you finally play the content that's in there.
Well, I'll tell you, just on my one class alone, I haven't done everything, Like, my plan with my alts is I'm probably, like, I have my main character I'm experiencing everything with. The alts I may just have for, like, when new friends come to the game or roll an alt, I'll go level them up doing flashpoints and class story only,
right.
That kind of a thing. But the real lifeblood of an MMO, and Veronica, correct me if you think I'm wrong, please, is how good are they at getting new content into the game? That's where an MMO really begins to shine in a lot of ways, I think.
Because you don't want it to get stale.
People are like, yeah, that's great. BioWare's put all this content in the game, but can they, pony up after the game goes live? People are like, well, we need to see content in the first 3 months. No, we won't see it. Well, guess what? We're seeing content in the first month the game is live. They teased it last week and this Friday. Patch notes went up on Test Center for the 1.1 update. In this update, tons of fixes, tons of tweaks, couple of, nuances adjusted here on every class, it looks like. But there's new content in there, new Flashpoint at level 50, and they've tripled the content in one of the two endgame operations already.
Wow. Tripled the content?
Triple the content. Yeah, Karaga's Palace. I have not seen it. It's in-game stuff. I haven't been there, obviously, but soon. Only had like one major boss. It wasn't quite complete. They've now updating that with this next update, and it's going to have like it's been extended into a much more of a full-length operation, like the Eternity Vault is.
That is awesome.
And the other big thing I think will be of interest for those that like PvP. I've been hearing a lot of complaints from folks who are running into level 50s already geared out in Warzones, and they're like, can't touch them. They've got all the gear, we can't get to them. This with this update going in, they're separating level 50s out, so they're going to have their own Warzones, and levels 1 through 49 will do their thing.
Not
against
just
each
get
other.
utterly dominated instantly.
Yeah. So that's the big news. Like, I'm blown away that within a month. I mean, Flashpoint, that seems like a simple thing, but to have a new Flashpoint a month into the game just seems like...
I like the fact that it maybe hints that this is the speed of content that we should get. I mean, it could be that they're aggressively trying to keep people engaged even after they hit that level 50. Count.
Yeah, no, I think that's fantastic. What do you think, Veronica?
Can they keep up that kind of pace, though?
Yeah.
I mean, that's a pretty intense pace. But at the same time, it makes sense because if they want to keep players engaged and if they want to keep players from getting bored, they need to keep adding content. And, I mean, people can keep themselves from being bored by starting new characters and starting new alts, but there's only so many times you can do that.
Yeah.
All right, so hey, we got any feedback from the fine folks out there?
We got we didn't get any voicemail this time around. You know what, with the holidays and all.
All right. Let me make this clear. I don't want to listen to Adam read emails. I want to listen to our fans give voicemails. That's not to you, Adam. That's not anything about you.
I understand.
I'm just saying I want to hear straight from the goats.
We want to hear from you. Brian's right. We genuinely want to hear from you folks. I know a lot of you listen to the show. I see the download numbers, and you're all hitting me up on Twitter. Appreciate it. Some of you even playing with us in game. But please, give us a call. Leave us a voicemail. 1330 TCB Talk. That's 822-8255. So go on, guys. We want to hear you. So because you didn't call, you get to listen to me now read War and Peace.
Boo.
All right, we got an email from Danio, a.k.a. Devario. Danio is actually somebody in the Diamond Club Guild. He's Devario over on the Not Safe for Wookiees side. Says, hey, guys, love the show. So datacrons, what are they for, and why should I find them? Also, what crafting areas do you like best, classes aside? Thank you all, you rock.
I think I could take this one.
All right.
No idea. Next question.
Intelligently said, Brian. Datacrons are to encourage folks to explore the world. They have hidden these little cube-like things that are carryover from in the lore in the universe. If you're paying attention, the info's out there. It comes up as you're playing the game. Old ancient technology from the Rakata, this infinite empire that was around before humans existed, etc. Blah blah blah. There are these little cubes hidden in the world, sometimes in very obvious spots. But getting to them is not obvious. Like, they'll be right there. You can see it, but you can't figure out how to get it. They're a bit of a puzzle to get to sometimes. For your efforts, when you get to them, they will have a stat bonus of some type attached to them. +3 aim, +3 willpower, whatever that Datacron's supposed to be. And a piece of lore, part of the backstory of the Star Wars universe, as it relates to the Old Republic. So why should you find them? They're fun. They can be challenging to get. Sometimes it can be a little Mario Brothers to get to. Like it'll be like jump from that pipe up to that ledge and then go over to that roof. And they can be a bit of a time sink to get. But the stat bonuses, I'm sure, are very well worth it. And if you like lore, and that's the main reason why I've been going after them, and you want to know more of the backstory, you want more of those codex entries, that's where you're going to get all the meaty, that's why that's like that, or that's where that thing came from. And so that's where I'm at with them. But how about you? Have you come across any, Veronica, yet? Have you seen any of these datacrons in the world yet?
I don't think so. And if I have, I haven't noticed.
And they have the energy beam coming off of them. I'm trying to figure out where in Ord Mantell.
Man, I'll tell you what, there's a lot of things that got a lot of beams coming off of a lot of things.
True.
I'm trying to think. On Ord Mantell, there's a little small island towards the end of your time there where if you look, you can see it off on the horizon. And then like the Jedi starting worlds, trust me, they're like right there, like you can't miss them, but getting to them is not obvious. So So that's what they are. That's what I would suggest, checking them out. So keep your eye out for them. You will eventually spot them. There are places in the world where, like I said, they're literally out in the open, but getting to them, you can't quite figure out how to do it. It's a challenge. So obviously, if you look online, folks are going to point you to it. Second part of his question was, what crafting areas do you like best, classes aside? I don't know because I haven't touched crafting.
I'm with you.
Really?
Crafting.
Not me either.
Not yet, anyway. Wait until you're 50. I mean, get your gathering skills and stuff.
Well, no, hold on. It sounds like Veronica. Have you messed around with crafting at all yet?
Yeah, I've been doing a fair amount of crafting. I think I'm like level 50 in my crafting and in my like scavenging stuff. So I'm doing. What am I doing? I'm doing cyber tech, and then I've got scavenging and what's the other one? Splicing.
Like, okay, I've only done splicing and
You mean slicing?
Slicing, sorry.
No,
splicing.
slicing.
Is that like gene morphing
Gene
or
splicing,
whatever?
yeah. No,
Different thing.
Well, you corrupted me too. You made me say splicing. No, I did slicing because the problem is I'm so loath to make a decision when I don't know what the difference is between anything. But I guess from what I've understand so far is all it does is open up more MacGuffins for you to see as you walk around, right?
Sometimes. I mean, the crafting professions are full on, like you can make armor and modifiers for the armors and stuff like that. The reason I stayed away from it and I observed in beta really quick was if you start setting your companions on missions and you start sinking your money into learning new recipes and all of that, you're going to go broke right away.
Oh, it's not that expensive.
Well,
It
here's
hasn't
the
been
thing.
affecting me at all.
Here's the thing. I have found that every credit, I'm not playing like the market. I'm not playing the Galactic Trade Network at all. I'm not reselling anything at the moment. I'm just kind of running on the money that comes in from adventuring, looting, selling junk loot, stuff like that. I have found that I need every credit I get. And if I don't spend...
Are you saying that even in Star Wars: The Old Republic, in these hard economic times, I'm afraid that I just don't
it's
have
about my time right
the
now. It's about my time
99%
right now.
demand.
Well, I'm trying to tell you, at level 25, you're going to need 40K to learn to ride a speeder.
Yeah, you're right.
I'll tell you what.
I have like
Then at
8K
level 40,
right now.
I just got done. Like, I was like, whoo-hoo, I've got 200.
I got no problem just writing a check for $10 for those credits.
So at level 40, that skill becomes like 210,000 credits. And then I'm hearing it's like 330 at like 50 for the last tier. So I've known that I'm going to have to spend my money on something down the road. So I'm like, I'll start looking at crafting myself personally after I've hit 50.
Yeah.
And then I'll sit back and go, okay, well, what do I really want to do? I picked up synth weaving. I just haven't done anything with it yet.
I see the sense in that.
I probably should actually go and look at some of the. I'm sure there's a bunch of fine websites that sort of break everything down as far as figuring out which one.
We've got a lot of folks in our guild who are very adamant that they're juggling both just fine, but I don't think I've seen a lot of those folks get to the like, oh, I need to buy my speeder now, or I need to get the speeder skills. So I don't know if it's impacted them yet, but some folks are doing a little bit at a time. We've got folks that are at 50 already turning out like nice mods and stuff. So I don't know if he was looking for what's the hot thing everyone's doing to make money. Seems slicing is the one that most folks like to take. Well, they nerfed it down quite a bit. It's still a lot.
Yeah, you just walk around. Well, and also a lot of them seem to be bugged for some reason. I can't seem to open them.
Yeah, either that or what happens is just everybody's like, the harvesting nodes have gone away. Like they were really plentiful in beta. They're not as plentiful now. So the only benefit I've seen to making sure your gathering skill is high or done is in some of the flashpoints, you can open up alternate routes or like repair broken battle droids to give you extra firepower. I've seen cute little nuances in there. But
I hear stuff like this, and it just makes me think how much bigger the game is than I'm playing it. I feel like I'm playing it wrong because I'm just going on and shooting bad guys. And by bad guys, I mean
think
good
you're
guys.
playing the wrong class. But we'll talk about
All
that.
right. Well, speaking of which, if people want to say this to us in person, what server can they join us on?
That would be Keller's Void, Brian, the server of awesome. We're on
and is that all three of us? Is that you as well?
Yeah. It is.
Veronica? Okay, good. And so if you want to join Not Safe for Wookiees, hit up me, Flatus, Flatus, or who's your alt on there?
Ryn, RYN. But to be fair, right now my focus really has been on the Republic side.
Right.
You have somebody in the guild, was it
Bieber Fat.
Bieberfat.
Bieberfatt. Hit up Bieberfat. He's usually online.
He's one of the resident Ubers. He's on all the time. Looks like he's just about to hit 50 like me. So he'll get you into the guild. Just kind of flash the gang sign. Tell him you listen to the show. Tell him you're a fan of Brian's. Whatever.
And by the way, we're being free to, I figure, look, we'll take anyone who wants to join the guild, and then if you're a jerk, then we'll see about or inactive, then we'll see about making room for someone else.
Yeah. Right now, we still have plenty of room for folks in their alts. I'm sure. I know AIE's got multiple guilds to support all the people. We're not to that point yet. So yeah, if you want to get in on the clubhouse, by all means. On the Diamond Club side, you can hit me up at ATOM, Adam. That's my main character. That's usually who I'm on all the time. And we'll get you in on the Diamond Club. So
I guess that's it.
Yeah. Blown away. Everything I had hoped it was going to be, little nitpicks, but again, those things I think are coming down the road.
I think we got a long story ahead of us here.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. Anything else you want to touch upon about?
I just want to hear if Veronica has any exciting new projects that she'd like to promote here on the show.
Ooh. Well, yes, on the 15th of January, the new show Game On goes live on the Twit network with myself and some other schmuck. I don't know, some guy.
Total dork
with spiky hair.
No, Brian is my co-host. Yay!
I'm not going to lie. I saw some preview behind-the-scenes footage that's being worked on. It is going to be a very, very fun show. Very slickly produced. I think there's I think even if you don't even like games, there's going to be some things that you're really going to like about this show. I think I'm
excited about it. We're going to have a lot of fun. We have a lot of great reviews and interviews coming up. David Jaffe from known as the mind behind Twisted Metal and God of War is going to be our first interview. And I'm really excited to talk to him. I'm sure he will try to curse up a storm, which on our PG network is not typically allowed, but it'll be cool. We'll figure it out somehow, but we're going to have a lot of fun.
I'll tell you what I'm really excited by is how many people are even now just looking at the beta test episode that we did 2 months ago and are hitting us up like, where can I tune in? Where is this? I want to see the rest of these. So it's really, really affirming to see so much enthusiasm heading for the show.
On project-wise, I'm still doing Texilla over on Revision 3 and Sword and Laser, my sci-fi fantasy podcast with Tom Merritt at swordandlaser.com.
Excellent. How about you, Brian? You got anything you want to tell folks about?
Nothing. Not one thing. I'm going to sit here and look at my screen until magically I'm on Game On the 15th. And
by the way, folks, I was going to say earlier, you got a video game show with Veronica Belmont and Brian Brushwood. How can you not tune into that? Come on, folks.
Yeah. Also, I'm actually hard at work on the Scam School book. That's the number one thing keeping me away from Star Wars: The Old Republic. We're trying to do some really exciting ththings with the Scam School book. If you dig the show, that's going to be coming up in the next few weeks. I'll be letting you guys know about that, but just stick around.
And as for me, hey, you folks know, obviously, if you're listening to this, a lot of you only know me as the Star Wars nerd. Talks about it with Brian.
He's also the Voltron nerd.
The Voltron nerd and the Japanese toy nerd. That's right. I do another show, weekly video show called Collection DX, based on our website where we review Japanese toys and collectibles. And we're geeking it up over there with all sorts of cool, stuff that a lot of folks, even if you don't think you're into toys, you would probably think's pretty cool and like on your desk at work. And so you should check it out. collectiondx.com. New episodes go up every Friday afternoon, early evening, depending on how well YouTube behaves when I upload. And I'd appreciate if you folks check it out. But thank you.
Right on. Let's go back to the space
Brian,
bar.
Say goodbye to everybody. Veronica, thank you so much for slipping in here. I know it was crazy, and you're running off the CES and all that stuff, and I really appreciate you fitting our little Horse Apples podcast into your schedule this weekend.
Well, thanks for having me, and hopefully we can run some kind of Flashpoint at some point.
I was going to say, we'll talk about that after the show. We'll have to exchange some tune names, but yeah, definitely, I would love to. I'm a Flashpoint junkie. I kid you not. I've done Black Talon like 30 times.
I need to find a new one, but yeah.
Yeah, no, absolutely. You need to move on to the other ones, but yeah, I hear you. That's why I rolled all these alts, so I could go take people through Flashpoints. I'm like, because you take people through the Flashpoint, and then they all like starry-eyed at the end. They're like, wow, that was awesome. So, but anyway, folks, thank you so much for listening. Veronica, thank you. Brian, thank you. Again, I know you're still kind of picking yourself up off the floor after this week.
No, peace out. I'm sorry. I'm not even listening. I'm already playing Star Wars: The Old Republic.
Already playing. So we'll talk to you in a few weeks, folks. Bye-bye.
serve their kind here.
What, who, the droids?
We can make them wait outside.
No, the droids are fine. But you two will have to wait outside.
Okay.
Don't worry, Master. I will get you drinks to go.
See, I told you we'd get thrown out.
I knew I should have killed everyone in there.
Dude, we didn't even set anything on fire this time.
Fine. Oh, my.